Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast. On today's episode, I have Kate with me. She is the founder of Simplicity Ops. She's an operations expert with over a decade of investment management experience. She's passionate about streamlining technology and systems, which is something I'm passionate about too, to elevate client service, drive growth, and boost profitability. Her journey began as a client service associate, later becoming an operations manager at an RIA. Where she discovered the potential of AdvisorTech and transformed their CRM into a central operations hub. So today, Simplicity Ops, which is her company, has helped over 50 firms build scalable operational systems, empowering advisors to leverage tech for client management and peace of mind. She's based in San Diego and enjoys travel, audiobooks, cooking, and spending time with her husband and two daughters, and a lively mix of pets. Thanks for joining me today, Kate.
Good intro. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about taking your client experience to the next level using systems, workflows, and technology, which is an awesome topic. It's something that when I talk to our clients about pain points that they have about, what's going on running the practice, it's like two things, right? Personnel, it's like personnel, marketing, and then systems and technology. Like those are the common, pain points that I hear from people. So in terms of like the practices that you work with, can you talk a little bit about some of the most common issues that you encounter that maybe advisors may not even be aware of that could be a problem in their practice? Like things that are aha moments for some of the clients that you guys, when you start working with firms that comes up to them?
Yeah. It's interesting. So, you kind of explained my background a little bit, but in supporting financial advisors since, 2013, I have learned, I've developed my own opinion that I believe that their number one responsibility is client service. Because if you can't attract clients and you can't retain clients, then you don't really have a business. And I find so often that advisors are focused on their investment strategy or their technology or everything except for the people. And so I would start by thinking through, who is it that you want to serve? What is your niche? How are you going to deliver an amazing client service experience, nurture these people, help them achieve their goals, to get clear on what systems, processes, and technology you need to make that happen?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Because I think a lot of, I was talking to somebody else the other day about this topic, and he was saying that most often it's all about just mapping out process work to start with, and you have to do a lot of that non-quantitative work first, and then you can do all of these implementations. So when you have what are some common things that you see firms maybe not paying attention to that you think deserve more attention, especially in 2024? I feel like the more I listen to things and talk to, different advisors and listen to podcasts and things, I'm encountering there are some definite trends in the way that, new clients, new consumers, and generational changes are happening in the way that people evaluate their advisors and how they even meet their advisors and what they expect for service delivery. What are some things that you've been noticing that maybe haven't been getting enough attention?
Yeah. So if you would have asked me this a couple years ago, I would have said your CRM. People don't pay attention to their CRM. They're not using, it to its fullest potential. But now I feel like advisors are wising up to that. And they're like, oh, this is actually a way more robust tool than I ever gave it credit for. Still only using it maybe 10 or 20% to its full capacity. But they're keeping contact records, they're keeping notes, they're loosely using it as a task management system. Okay. But what I'm finding now is advisors, how do I say this nicely? They
Spice alert, it's coming.
They know that they need systems, processes, and technology, but it's not necessarily the highest and best use of their time to figure out how to build out systems, processes, and better utilize their technology. And it often gets handed off to an administrative person or an operations person to hey, go figure it out. And that is a lot of work, and it is a gigantic undertaking and a borderline unfair assumption that somebody can just go figure it out, turn it around, and implement a scalable system on their own. And so I'm happy to hear that the CRM is getting more recognition and being better utilized. But even I have advisors come to me often and say, well, the tool's pretty dialed. Like, we're using it for tasks and contacts. We have a couple of workflows, but like, I still am not feeling that, that lift that I've heard you talk about. I'm still not feeling like totally dialed. And what they don't recognize is the CRM, although it makes a wonderful like operating system for their business, it is simply a database. Okay. It
Yeah.
cannot do all the things. There are some very necessary pieces of additional technology that need to be integrated to elevate the CRM user's experience and therefore your client service experience. So
Yeah,
it's not
that's
the
great.
end all be all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really great. So talking about workflow, because that's, you know, that's something that I've encountered a little bit too of in my in my line of work, like doing tax work for advisors. It's all about like all the returns have to be filed on time, and there's
Right.
so much workflow pieces that have to be captured and really managed really tightly. And so we have like internal workflow systems that we use
For sure.
for the advisors that come in. Okay, great, you've got your CRM, you're using it as you should be using it, storing all the contact details, putting tasks and stuff in there. In terms of like actually building out a good workflow system,
Mhm.
besides the whole design part, which could be a whole conversation. It's so idiosyncratic and it's its own, issue, where I think you put the point well of, I've seen this too in a lot of businesses where they're like, oh, admin person, like you can figure this out, like you can structure the whole system. It's like, no, we need we need full chart. Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just a matter of like, oh, we'll just implement this thing. Like, let's just throw some stuff in here in this tool. That's just such a gigantic process. But besides that process, say that you do have a general sense of what you want for your workflows in terms of like the client outcomes and touch points and okay, checklists and stuff like that. What are some
Right.
of your recommendations around like the tools that you see working the best these days, or things people should be thinking about around that? Like if they do kind of, because they probably already do have something of workflows in place. It's
Yeah.
just how do you actually operationalize this a lot better?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so all of the recommendations that I make come from empowering your client service and your operations team, because that's what my background is in. And we are generally the people at the forefront of like leading these relationships. And so it's important that you make our job better, easier, so that we can better serve the clients, right? And so
Mhm.
you want to like, first we got to brain dump, like, what do you want this experience to look like? Who are the people that you serve? What are the services you provide? How frequently are you meeting with people to determine the pieces of technology that you need to like make that stuff actually happen? And if the goal is to do it with efficiency and at scale, what tools do you need to use to be able to do that? And so you start by using the CRM as the vehicle for delivering on these things with like email templates, note templates, like workflows to standardize the way we like have our meetings and like our review meeting cadence process, right? All right.
Mhm.
But then like from an administrative standpoint, scheduling sucks. So,
Yeah.
G reminders is I think the most is the premier tool on the market these days because it directly integrates with the two industry leading CRMs, Redtail and Wealthbox.
Mhm.
Directly pushes the appointment onto the calendar, links it to the contact record, adds the advisor and whoever's supposed to be in on the meeting automatically, and automatically launches the workflow, which tells the team how to prep day of and follow up for that specific type of meeting. So like that
Yeah,
saves
that's great.
10 good hours a week and like manual back and forth scheduling. And then
Yeah.
if you have one of your service offerings is that you deliver timely advice around like key milestone birthdays, social security, Medicare, using tools like Bento Engine that directly integrate with your CRM to put in activities to remind you to get in touch with your clients at whatever those specific milestone birthdays are, with educational material to help them be better, live better lives, make good decisions. um, just looking for tools that help enhance the client service experience and automate it so it's not so manual. So Bento's a good one. G Reminders is a good one. FinMate for note taking, documentation, pushing in meeting summaries into your CRM, putting in your notes and activities. Okay. So I think you can see the theme here. Choose tools that play nicest with your CRM, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's going to be the operational hub of your business. And so if you have all these random miscellaneous tools, because no offense, advisors, y'all are kind of bright, shiny object chasers and get sold all these really cool tools. But if they don't
Yeah.
play with the CRM, then you got 50 freaking tabs open. And it's like, it's a lot to manage. I'm trying to help you be more efficient so you can be spending more time with your clients, and having an unnecessary, redundant amount of technology ain't it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a huge one is, if you're not having stuff that integrates well into that CRM,
Yeah.
just keeping data clean is such a progress, like such a that's a big thing that we have to deal with in our firm, because we're just collecting, and advisors have the same thing. Like, you're collecting so much information that if
100%.
something gets double entered somewhere, that's not good. Like, we should have single entry points, like one source of truth, not having things over, like having a flow of where data is flowing in and out of. And especially for advisors where, on the tax side, we have a lot of compliance requirements, but for advisors, it's even
Sure.
worse.
Mhm.
Especially for the RIAs too, where there's not getting these systems from an outside power. Most of the time, they're having to create a lot of this internally and making sure that your practices are staying compliant too with how data's flowing and
Right.
how things are integrating, and where are social security numbers like stored, and where are they going through, and who has access to that, and just all of those kinds of issues too. There's, even when you have these tools, it's like nice to try to want to click and connect things. But at the same time, if you haven't done the mental engineering of like, how does this stuff actually work, and really focusing on that
100%.
CRM, it's really easy for your data to just get,
I'm
oh
so glad you bring up that point and you recognize this, because it gets overlooked so often. And if someone's looking to get started optimizing their CRM as the tool to running their business, you have to start with the data. Nothing else that I just explained is going to be effective if the data isn't well organized and trustworthy. If you operate
yeah.
on a team and the team can't find what they're looking for, and the data is inconsistent, or heaven forbid it's just inaccurate, ain't nobody else buying into the system that you're trying to build.
Yeah, exactly.
One, like,
Yep.
it is, other than people saying, I don't use my CRM for anything, or we use it, but it's just not, getting us exactly where we need to be, or like taking us to the next level. The next most common thing that I hear is the data is so disorganized that like we don't even use the CRM, because the idea of like trying to organize it or cleaning up is so daunting. We don't even know where to start. Should we just get a new CRM, start from scratch? Like, oh my goodness.
That's really funny that you say that, because it was a comment from somebody the other day this wasn't to me, it was to somebody else. Somebody else's anecdote talking about he had someone approach him where they're on Wealthbox, have 100 clients, and he was like, we need to get a different system because we've outgrown Wealthbox with 100 households. And he was like, you just have a big data cleanup problem. Like, that's what's actually gone on here. So yeah, that's a huge component of it is the data integrity. And something that I've found, I'm sure you found the same thing, is really having set standard operating procedures about how your team interacts with that CRM, and what goes in and what does not, and how, like, a methodology around how we're using it as a tool that's been mapped out. Because if you have some advisors that are keeping some stuff in it, but then other ones don't, and your team, there's a haphazard way that things get updated, or it turns into an impossible mess because you can't trust it. You've lost your
No.
trust in it as a platform, versus always making sure that it's staying super clean, so that I trust it. Like, when I look at this CRM contact, I know that every email's in here. Like, I know that it's been updated. I know that the relevant information for planning has been moved to where we do our planning activities, and that, a lot of that comes down to having really good SOPs for your team, of just, this is how we use this system, and we're all doing it the same way. And that's not to say, like, I'm sure you've had this experience too, that you as the advisor who's running the practice needs to be all up inside that CRM. It's like, I have a process with my executive assistant where there's a lot of things that she does the updates on everything for it, and I don't even go in there for a lot of it, because it's not a good use of my time. But at the same time, we need the system to be clean at all times. So I think is that something that you encounter quite a bit with the advisors, like that? Just a slight interruption in this conversation. I wanted to bring to your attention two things that are important for you to know. So, we're always at the mercy of social media algorithms. So, if you can subscribe to the show, that would mean a lot to me. Even more to me if you can leave a rating and let me know what you think about it. But we have a new newsletter that's coming out. It's going to be very active in 2025. That is specifically around tax issues that I'm seeing advisors face in their own practices, changes in legislations, and the pieces that I think are critically important for you to stay ahead of as an advisor with the new administration. So nearby, wherever you're interacting with this, will be the link of how to sign up for our newsletter. Also nearby will be the link to my LinkedIn, which is the best way to get in touch with me, learn more about what we're doing for advisors in the tax strategy and compliance work that we do, and also to get access to the various tools and interviews and things that I do, specifically designed to help you improve your practice, improve your own tax situation, etc. So let's get back to the episode, and thanks for tuning in. Yeah.
Well, and the way you combat that is like when we work with teams, we build out what we call a style guide, which acts as like the glossary to their database. So it actually says like, here's your statuses, here's your categories, here's to use what, when, to ensure that level of consistency, because consistency is the key to success here. Like if people aren't using the system consistently, this is how, it snowballs like you're talking about and gets disorganized and is no longer trustworthy because there hasn't been a standard operating procedure in place for something as simple as how do you keep the data clean?
Yep, exactly. So in terms of, other things that you see as common things that get missed when advisors are thinking about this, are there other places when it comes to the CRM and then just, workflow or system that you see are common misses that you keep encountering for the RIAs?
Yeah. And I think this is just like resetting expectations. Like we were talking about setting expectations with who should be building out the system and having reasonable having a reasonable understanding that goes into that, I think is a big one. But also maintaining the system. Like maintaining your CRM and all of the technology that integrates with the CRM is just as important as the initial build out, because as you grow, as you evolve, as you add new team members, things change. And so you got to think about these systems as like a living, breathing, piece of your business. And as things change, you need to be flexible. You need to edit your workflows, keep them up to date. They need to be reflective of your current processes. If you have new team members, you have to give them the time and you have to really pour into them and educate them and set expectations of how we use our technology and our systems to deliver, a client experience. You need to have an auditing process in place to assess your CRM and your the organizational hierarchy of the data and how are people using the system and are the workflows current to ensure accuracy of everything. And that just is what it is. And we use a workflow as like a checklist to audit all of those things, but it's unnecessary. It's unreasonable to think that building out an operating system for running any type of business is like a one and done thing.
Yeah,
there is
that's
a
so
very
true.
necessary ongoing auditing, editing process that goes into maintaining it.
Yeah, I love that. And so for people that are, okay, that sounds like a lot because it is, right? Like you're making an operating system for your business. Like that's what it is. Where do you recommend people start? If they feel like they've got a mess on their hands, they've scaled a bit of a mess. Like where do you usually recommend they tackle first?
The data, because nothing else works without the database being well organized. So thinking through a logical contact hierarchy of how the data should be structured with, statuses and categories and keywords and user defined fields. This is my whole mission in life, is to help people do this. And so on our website, we have samples of all of this stuff. Like, hey, if I were you, here's how I would organize my database. It's a downloadable free document on our website that you can take, adapt it and apply it to your business. We have all sorts of helpful things on our website to help, build a roadmap for building out an operating system, from how your database should be organized, how to use it as a task management system, what workflows should you incorporate into your practice, how do you integrate automation into your business, some of our, key pieces of technology and partners that we leverage to elevate the client service team and the client experience. all of that stuff is available on our website, and you're welcome to take it and download it and start applying it to your business. But I mean,
Yeah,
I would start
we'll post
by,
the links nearby wherever
cool.
dear listener you're encountering this. I was really interested too that you're doing a community too. If we can touch on that for a minute and talk about the community that you're building of RIA operators and
Yeah.
owners.
So it just goes back to like wanting to be valuable to this community of, advisors and the people that support them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was working in an RIA back in 2017, in an operations role. And it's kind of a lonely place. It's like, hey, you're operationally minded, you're well organized, help me figure out how to organize and better operate my business. And it took me years and years and years to figure it out, and lots of long nights, lots of mistakes, lots of doing to undo. And I really just wish I had a community or like people that I could like bounce ideas off of, or like find some free resources to like help me piece it together better. And so we've created this community. It's called RIA Owners and Operators, to help RIA owners and operators get to their goal more quickly, with like webinars, free downloadable resources. We host monthly calls where they can come hang out with me and my team, ask questions, let us help them so that they don't feel so lonely going about this, and I don't know, can do their job better. Because if they can serve more people, we solve a really big issue here. And an advisor needs to be spending time pouring into their clients and prospects to make the impact that they want to make. And they can't be caught up in the redundancy and building out these systems and processes. We would like to support that effort. Yeah,
no, that's great, because it's funny. I was just having another conversation with an advisor earlier today, and she was saying, one of the things that she always looks at is like, what amount of time am I spending on things that are $25 an hour tasks, right? Like that are things that a piece of technology should be doing, that, or another person on my team should be doing, just because I haven't designed systems around being able to execute this stuff efficiently. And, me not being in front of the clients providing value is going to slow my organization down. Like that's what she was saying. And I was like, that's absolutely true. It's like for every hour that you're not spending in front of your clients or in front of your team members that you're building up and running the business, it's just it's lost. And it's going to slow you down. But yeah, so for people who are interested in learning more about what Kate and her team are doing, we're going to post the links nearby to the community that they're building, also for their to get on the website where they've got all those awesome resources, which I'm going to go and download all that stuff because I want to see if we've done a good job.
Yeah, no, I think it's applicable in any business, honestly.
Right?
I've implemented the same type of framework in my business, and it has really taken us to the next level in terms of like
awesome
organization, automation, and being able to serve more people, which I think is all of our goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, something I see a lot is people will, especially in professional services, they'll try to throw bodies at problems that are really systems engineering and data organization issues. And it's like, if you just took 5 hours to do the mental work, have somebody implement the SOP and this, build the system out, you're going to save yourself so much in labor efficiency costs instead of you hiring on like 3 more admins or thinking that you need to grow that way versus just invest the time into the systems.
That is not awesome. The solution. I'll share one acronym on that that I think will be really helpful. It comes from Jen Goldman, who's a friend of mine. She called it IDEOS, IDEOS. Integrate, delegate, automate, outsource, staff, in that order. Staff comes last.
Yep. Oh, it's beautiful. And your P&Ls will thank you. The amount of times I see labor bloat.
Is going to go, through the roof.
Yeah. Oh, labor bloat's the worst. But yeah, Kate, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Any final thoughts you want to share with the audience before we go?
No, that was super fun. Thank you for having me. And I just want to be a resource to anybody that wants help, better serving their clients, being a better leader for their team, and growing and scaling their business. So however we can help, please reach out. Catherine, you'll have all my links to ways that we can keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining me, Kate. And for those of you listening, Links will be nearby for how to get in touch with her and her team and just the wonderful work that they're doing. So thanks again for listening. This was another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast.